Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So I've started a new channel. Make sure you follow the link in the description and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And if you can, watch the videos I upload as well. It really helps the watch time. I've got around 700 of you moved across, but I've got 30,000 subscribers. So there's still a lot of you on this channel. So make sure you go to my new channel and subscribe. So this was supposed to be my second video, but I'm going to make it into my first video. And the reason is this is going to be much shorter. And the second video is going to be on my new channel. So make sure you hop on to that after this one's finished. So today I'm going to be talking about India. And Indian stock market has been crashing lately. And you can see from the picture, everything is red. So why is this happening? I'll give you the reasons why, guys. So the first reason is there seems to be a lot of investment going out of India and going into the US. So basically, I believe 20 to 21 billion has gone out of India very recently. And these were certain businesses who have basically taken their money out and gone back to America. And the reason they're doing this is for many reasons. Number one, the Indian rupee is falling, it's almost collapsing off a cliff at the moment. And the Indian economy is not doing very well. You have very high inflation caused by the high oil prices. And the oil prices obviously have averaged around $100 a barrel over the last few months. And Indians have been really struggling in India. So, you know, India has basically missed a major trick, actually. So for a few years now, ever since Trump's first term and then Biden, there was a huge power competition happening between the United States and China. And India was coming up and coming as the rising power, basically, according to many Western reporters. So India was a rising power, and I think both India, was deciding whether to go towards the China camp or go towards the Western camp. And then there was obviously a small battle between India and China in Ladakh, I believe. And that made up India's mind. And ever since then, they have decided to go to the Western camp. And obviously, the Western camp was delighted to have Modi in their camp. And they thought they picked up a really good prize at the time. So what happened was many, US businesses, because there was a huge anti-China sentiment all across the United States. This was coming from the COVID. And then after COVID, all these, because of Trump, and he was basically telling U.S. companies to leave China, and then Biden came in, and he wasn't any better. So there was a huge anti-Chinese sentiment. There was sanctions coming in and out of China all the time. They were basically coming up with lies about China. People were saying Chinese economy is going to collapse. So you had many like US businesses leaving China and setting up factories in India instead. Apple was one of them, but a lot of other American companies actually followed Apple, and they set up business in India. Unfortunately, it hasn't really worked out very well for them, especially Apple. Apple has been it's been an absolute nightmare for Apple. Apple still uses the suppliers from China because they cannot find the suppliers in India who can do the same job. So all they do in India is basically get the products from China ready made, and they just assemble it, um, put it together, and so it's not real manufacturing in India. So many companies have been leaving because of the high oil prices. So, India is an oil importer or an energy importer country. They don't really have the oil and gas like the Middle Eastern countries, like Russia, like United States, to produce their own oil, produce their own gas. So they have to import it. So they have to import it from the Middle East. They have to get it from United States. They have to get it from Russia. They have to get it from Iran. And they are subject to obviously geopolitical events. So India had to be very, very careful. Obviously, they had to stay neutral. They were in a very, very volatile region in the Middle East where, things can escalate at any moment. But I think India made a huge mistake by siding with Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, supporting Israel is one thing, but going to Israel one day before Israel attacked Iran is another thing. It just showed that India cannot be trusted. And Iran has been a long time friend of India, actually. These are very old civilizations going back thousands of years. So they have a very, very good history and a strong history together. So Iran felt that India had stabbed Iran in the back, and rightly so. Obviously, Modi going to Israel, he wasn't just shaking hands with Netanyahu, he was literally rubbing his body up against Netanyahu. And he was, hugging him and, basically pretending he's his best friend. And, it's just, and then one day later, you know, um, the attacks happened in, uh, in Iran. And then another few days later, Iranian ship who went to India for training, somehow the Americans and the Israelis got hold of the um, coordinates and they sank the ship, Iranian ship, and they killed, hundreds of sailors. So it's obvious that India was sharing intelligence with Israel and America. And India betted on the wrong horse, unfortunately. So again, just like Netanyahu goes to Trump and sells him a dream, so Netanyahu goes to Trump, sells him a dream, the saying that if he attacks Iran, the people will rise up and they will overthrow the government, and you will be a wartime president, you will be a hero, Iranian people will love you for it. All of these things he promised Trump, and none of it really came to reality. Reality really hit Trump really hard on his face. All the promises that Netanyahu made to Trump about, attacking Iran, none of it came true. And the same promises Netanyahu basically told Modi. He said, Modi, just stick with us. We will attack Iran. We will get rid of the current um, government. We will overthrow them, and we will put a pro-Israel, pro-West, pro-Indian regime in there, and yeah, we will live happily ever after. So Modi fell for it. Trump fell for it, and these are supposed to be, high IQ leaders here, and obviously they just fell for Netanyahu's lies, and it really put India in a really bad position because they lost the trust of Iran, and they also lost the trust of the rest of the Middle East as well. The fact that India is so close to Israel, and obviously Israel is doing a genocide against other Muslims. So Muslims do not have a very good you know they don't have a very good kind of relationship with India because of it. So So this is one of the reasons India's been really struggling. They have lost Iran as a friend. So India is really struggling to get oil and gas from the Strait of Hormuz, from the Middle East, because the Strait of Hormuz, basically blocks oil from Iraq, from Kuwait, from Bahrain, Qatar, and the northern part of Saudi Arabia. And all of those countries is where India gets his oil from. So they are really, really struggling. So obviously, with the high oil prices, everything becomes expensive in India. Transport becomes expensive. Pumps become expensive. Running a business or a factory becomes expensive because you got really high, prices of oil. And then also like things like pharmaceuticals becomes expensive, farming becomes expensive because you cannot run the machinery without oil. So everything becomes expensive in India. And India is really struggling because they have 1.4 billion people. And recently Modi came on an interview recently, a few days ago, and he asked people to stop buying gold. He says he told Indians, do not buy any gold. And he says, do not take money out of the stock market, do not take your money out of the banks. And he was basically telling Indians also to work from home and not to like waste petrol, to do car sharing. So basically, he's telling all the Indians that India is basically doomed. Basically, and what did the Indians do after that? They started buying gold in huge numbers. They started buying gold because when you buy gold, your currency actually depreciates. So gold, as more people buy gold, so the way it works is if you have hard cash, hard money, you take it out of the bank and you buy gold with it. You are taking money out the circulation and you are basically investing in gold. And if you take money out of circulation, basically that makes the rupee weaker because um, because you're taking the money out the circulation and becomes your gold investment becomes more expensive and the value of rupee goes down. And there's also obviously it's not as complicated as that, but okay. Same thing happens in the United States. The United States, there's this, there's basically something called the DXY, and it's basically the dollar which is up against other currencies, and it measures the strength of the dollar against its local currencies and also other currencies like the euro and yen and Canadian and Australian and things like that. So when the DXY goes down, the value of gold usually goes up, and when the DXY goes up, the value of gold usually goes down. So it's inverse. It's an inverse relationship. So the same thing happens in every country when more people buy gold, the value of the currency seems to go down because it means that people are losing confidence in their currency, so the value of currency goes down, and it becomes like a loop. So more people start buying gold, they start panicking, they start selling getting rid of all of their, cash money and start buying gold, and it just becomes a vicious cycle, and inflation just starts running rampant. So this is what's happening in India at the moment. So going back to my previous point, you remember when was talking about the power politics between United States and China, and there was huge rivalry going on between them. Trump was ordering United States to, companies to leave China. Then Biden comes in, and Biden was telling companies not to invest in China. So all of this power politics was going on between the two major superpowers. And then India was in the middle. And India, they thought they can play safe and reap the benefits. So the benefits are basically they have the same population as China, and they were basically selling this dream that India is the next China, and many people have fallen for it, including Trump at the time. So you had a lot of American companies leaving China and coming into coming into India. So India was very happy. They were basically right in the middle of the power politics, and obviously India was very pro-West as well. So a lot of American companies, did a lot of business with India at the time. So they were reaping huge benefits at the time, and everyone was falling for it that India is the next superpower. It's gonna overtake China and stuff. But it didn't work out for them, unfortunately. It didn't work out. It actually worked out disastrous. Um, and now, I think things changed. Things changed after the Pakistan-India war. So during the Pakistan-India war, India lost a lot of jets. Pakistan shot them down, and India went to Trump asking for a ceasefire. And Trump was shocked, and I think it was a major wake-up call for Trump because anyone that knows Trump, he respects strength. He respects countries that are strong. They fight. He doesn't like weak countries. He doesn't like countries that back up from a fight. He doesn't like losers. And according to most media, I mean, Indians will tell you they won the war, right? But most media in the West and the rest of the world easily can tell that Pakistan won the war because they shot down all these Indian jets, and including Trump. Trump definitely thought that India lost the war. So after that, things changed. India was not America's um, favorite friend anymore because India was looked at not only as a rising economic power but also a rising military power to counter China, because they are also in the Quad, and and America had huge high hopes for India, basically becoming a superpower in the region and countering China, and they were hoping on China, on India becoming military superpower. After losing to Pakistan, and Pakistan's GDP is way lower than India. Plus, their military budget is way lower than India, yet they still managed to beat India. So Trump lost a lot of respect for India after that, and then he started placing all these sanctions on India, saying India scammed us. India scammed us. They told us they're going to be the next rising superpower, but they're not. And things changed after that, guys. Then Trump was actively telling Apple and other companies to leave India. He says, "Yeah, fine. I don't mind you leaving China, but I do not want you to be setting up factories in India." Then he placed all these high sanctions on India, and they were basically telling India where to buy its oil from. They needed permission to buy Russian oil. So they placed all these conditions on India. They placed all these sanctions and tariffs. And now India is the most tariffed country in the world at the moment, as it stands. Higher than Europe, higher than China. And yeah, things started falling apart from India after that. All the companies started losing money in India. Every company that goes to India is like a graveyard. They start losing money. It's not a bed of roses like Indians like to tell you. So mainly American companies now they're starting to move out, and even Apple. I've seen Apple making plans. They were going to expand in India, but now those expansions have been put on hold. And I wouldn't be surprised if Apple leaves India in the next few years. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And anyway, most of the companies are starting to leave. Many major companies have left already, and I think If the oil prices continue to go higher, I think India is in some serious, serious trouble, guys. Serious trouble. We're talking about, civil wars. India could break up into smaller countries. But yeah, it's major, major problems for India at the moment. So there's other problems in India as well I wanted to talk about. India has been the hottest country in the world in the last few months, from April to May. And you can see from the map here, India is literally red, guys. It's hotter than the deserts. You can see the deserts on the right, on the left of India. Places like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Egypt. They're not even that. They are hot, but even India is hotter than the deserts. That's what the map is trying to say. And even hotter than Australia. Australia is supposed to be one of the hottest places on earth. And then you got Africa. It's hotter than Africa. So why is this, guys? Why is this? I mean, is it the weather? Is there something else? And I've got a few theories. Well, obviously, number one theory is hot air seems to be going through India and it gets stuck in the Himalayas. So you see that big, you see the where the red and the blue is, and the blue is China basically. So in between that, there's the Everest mountains. You got the huge mountains that are separating China and India. So I think what's happening is hot air is coming through India and it's hitting those mountains and it's coming back. It's not flowing through. So it's coming back and it gets stuck in India. And it gets stuck in India for many reasons. Number one is the pollution, because India is still a really heavy pollutant. They burn a lot of coal you know, and other kind of really heavy pollutant um, factories. And also, their cities are not designed to regulate the heat. So, for example, the way most cities in India are designed, they don't have greenery, that much greenery. They only have a very small amount of greenery. So it's not designed. Cities are designed in China, for example. Chinese cities, they got greenery everywhere. Everywhere you go, they got huge parks and they got flowers and trees everywhere. They got huge greeneries in every single city. India doesn't have that because of their huge population. They are just building without thinking about, growing greenery in cities and so they're just building with concrete, and concrete keeps their, heat in. So this is what's happening. The heat gets stuck in India because of the pollution, because of all the, buildings, and also because of the people as well. There's 1.4 billion people. Plus, you got cows breathing out methane. Cows are sacred animals in India, and when cows let out gas, it's methane. It's very, very extremely, hazardous to the environment. Basically, methane is more dangerous than CO2 in terms of trapping heat. So there's huge amounts of cows obviously giving out gas. 1.4 billion people breathing out CO2. You got all of the factories polluting. You got all the cities which are heavily, how would you say, not designed in any way to kind of, you know, circulate heat. They're just designed to trap heat. And that's the problem, guys. I think that this is why India is becoming the hottest country on earth. And there are other reasons as well. Obviously, I'm not going to go in. Yeah, I don't know enough about India to go into all these other reasons, but those are, I believe, the main reasons. If you can think of other reasons, let me know. But yeah, guys, I'll end it there. Don't forget to check the description for part two of the video. I'm gonna put the part two of the video on my new channel, so make sure you check that. and I'll see you shortly, guys. Take care for now. Bye bye.